Is it? Okay, we have some wonderful youth leaders here to talk to us today about what they've done, and what we can do. And yeah, I'll let them speak for themselves. But first, we're going to have Kat Woerner. She has been an environmental activist in Nebraska for the past 6 years. At the age of 16, she became a board member of the environmental nonprofit Green Bellevue in her own hometown. In 2018, she started her journey at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, where she worked on a series of advocacy projects. Kat graduated from UNL in May 2022, having majored in economics, environmental studies, and natural resource economics, and is now taking a gap year traveling across Europe.
Hello, everybody. So like she said, my name is Kat, and I'm currently talking to you from Prague in the Czech Republic. Raise your hand if you know where that is. Okay, that's actually really impressive because I had no clue. I literally had no idea. And I have like a couple friends in Prague. It's just east of Austria, which is east of Germany. And it's currently about 9:17 p.m. It's 7 hours ahead. So I've been backpacking across Europe for the past 3 months, and I've been to 8 countries, navigating 6 different languages and 4 different currencies besides the US dollar. This is the longest period of time I have gone since I was 15 years old without driving a car. Europe is set up in a way where you can get anywhere very affordably through public transportation. Like, I'm not kidding. I got from London to Paris, which is like 6 hours a boat ride, like 6 hours a cruise in a bus, where I got a meal for $40. Like, it's definitely a lot cheaper. And another fun fact about Europe is that they are currently facing an energy crisis because a lot of the infrastructure is still based on natural gas, which they would get from Russia. But Russia is now sanctioned, so energy prices have skyrocketed. They're now 4 times the cost of what they were at the beginning of the summer, and a lot of people are going to be struggling to stay warm this winter. But I won't be here in the winter. I'm actually going to be in Thailand, so I'm not going to have that problem. So I decided to come to Europe for a multitude of reasons, but one of which was because of burnout, which I didn't think existed, but totally does. People teach you to manage your time, but not really to manage your energy, which is just as important. You have to save yourself and take care of yourself before you can save your community and take care of your community. Now, on to the main topic. Most of what you hear me talk about today happened before I was even legally able to drink alcohol in the US. I first started waking up to the climate crisis when I was 16 years old. Probably the best way to describe my family situation is my extended family is QAnon and very conservative, and my mom has a PhD in psychology. So my mom was very encouraging and kept me sane while my family was like, don't talk about what you do at the dinner table. So I grew up hearing from my family that climate change was caused by volcanoes, which isn't true, by the way, and they actually cool the planet, but that's a different story. And so I finally learned different when I was independent studying the AP Environmental Science. My school didn't offer it as a class when I was in high school, so I literally just grabbed a study book and then read it cover to cover. As crazy as that sounds, but I thought it was super interesting. And so when I read the chapter about climate change, I took the book, brought it to family dinner, very dramatically dropped it on the table, and read what it said about humans and climate change. We're the cause of it. And so, given the book was written by scientists and educators, I believed it more than my family members who believe in conspiracy theories. This was in 2016, but watching their denial truly opened my eyes to the magnitude of the issue and how many people are either not aware of what was happening or in straight denial. So I decided to dedicate my life to fighting the climate crisis. When I was in high school, I went to Bellevue West. This looked like joining my school's environmental club, where I became president and tried to get solar panels on my high school. I became the youngest board member of a nonprofit, and I started showing up to events where I was the youngest person in the room. So being the youngest person sounds scary, but definitely played to my advantage because then everybody else in there was incredibly nice and wanted to mentor and encourage me as much as possible. Also, mentorship and having a good mentor is incredibly important. I didn't have one for 2 years and it led to my burnout. So if you don't have a mentor, find one. I'm available. like there's probably all sorts of people in there, like in the room that have my Instagram. So feel free to share that around and reach out to me if you have any questions or want any advice. Rachel and I were just on the phone like a week ago, and I'm definitely available. I literally don't have a job. My full-time job is literally traveling Europe, so I can make time for you guys. Anyways, back to it. Skip ahead a couple years to the fall of 2018, which was my first semester at UNL. I hit the ground running when I met Brittni, who's the next speaker, and got involved with Sustain UNL in student government. Brittni is a year older than me, and honestly, she shaped a lot of what my activism has looked like. Over the next couple of years, from like freshman and sophomore year, I worked on a lot of various projects, including starting the annual like furniture drive, which may or may not happen this year at UNL, writing UNL's first sustainability master plan, betting the balloons at Husker football games, which by the way, this year is the first year in like 50 years where it hasn't happened, which is absolutely incredible. $1 million recycling renovation project, and then also attending all of the LES Lincoln Electric System board meetings with Brittni for a year, pleading for them to set a decarbonization or net zero carbon goal. So who here knows what decarbonization is? Okay, that's literally everybody, so I don't need to explain it. Perfect. So after learning from Brittni and this year of pushing LES, I took that knowledge to push the utility that powered my house, that powered my home. Nebraska's largest utility, Nebraska Public Power District, do the same. I worked on this campaign for a little less than a year with a series of nonprofits, like a reoccurring theme that you will see while I'm talking and while Brittni's talking and probably while Zac is talking is the power of working together and collaboration. Nothing that we do is isolated. Nothing we do is by ourselves, it's with other people as well. And so for the NPPD campaign, I worked with Nebraska Sierra Club, Nebraska Interfaith Power and Lights, Nebraska Conservation Voters, etc. A lot of different nonprofits. And it made me realize what made LES easy, or I guess easier, is that it was a 5-minute walk from campus and I could use the words climate change. The difficulty with NPPD is it was showing up to public comments was 2 hours away, and using the words climate change were still very polarizing. But it's okay, because that's why I studied economics and studied to become an environmental economist. So I spoke in the language that they wanted to hear, which is what ultimately helped for them to pass the goal, which is for them money and reliability. So every month I grabbed the people around me and spent 4 hours in the car driving to and from Columbus, Nebraska to talk during the public comment period to let these leaders know that young people care about this issue. And we're not going away until they set a goal and stop investing in things actively hurting our future. Along with attending public comment periods, I also organized meetings with board members to talk to them about the benefits of clean energy. I organized public education events with some other people as well, and then also emailed thousands of people asking them to contact their board member and let them know that this is what they wanted as well. After about a year, hey, it worked. And in November 2021, Nebraska was the first Republican-dominated state to have our grid decarbonized by 2050 at the latest. Yay! And this amazing achievement was led by young people. Young people have the most to lose to climate change compared to any other generation. We don't have the luxury of a beautiful future. We have to fight for it. And lack of experience plays more to our benefit than our demise. Older people have a way of thinking and a way of doing things that have been ingrained in them for decades, while younger people, we don't know. So we can imagine a different world, a world that is equitable, a world that solves the problem of people and the planet rather than making a profit from creating them. Who here has climate anxiety? Yeah, I have really bad climate anxiety as well. Don't let that energy go to waste. Use that emotion and turn it into passion, then passion into action, and join a group or start one with your friends and change the world. Thank you.
Kat. Now we're gonna have a video from Brittni McGuire. She with a degree in wildlife conservation in urban forestry. She was president of Sustain UNL for 2 years, worked for the Office of Sustainability, and was a key player in fossil fuel divestment advocacy on campus. Brittni has a contagious energy that inspires people to come together and fight for change. Brittni currently lives in St. Mary's, Georgia, and works for the National Park Service at Cumberland Island National Seashore. While no longer in Nebraska, she carries her experiences as a young climate activist everywhere she goes. As park ranger duties on the holiday weekend call, Brittni was not able to be here live with us today, but she recorded this wonderful video to share with us all today. And I hope you guys enjoy it.
Hey everyone, I hope the Youth Climate Summit is going good so far. My name is Brittni, and I was hoping to join you live today virtually, but things happened, so I recorded this video ahead of time. But just want to give a quick thank you to the organizers of the summit this year. I know it's a really big event and it takes a lot to put it all together. So just wanted to say thank you for including me this year. It's been really nice to look back on some memories and reflect a little bit and hopefully put together a nice, meaningful presentation for you all today. But in all my presentations, I like to bring in some nature photography. This is a photo of some sunflowers along the Niobrara River in Nebraska. And to me, it kind of just speaks to kind of what I'm going to talk about today and just where I'm at in my life. Where this sunflower in the front is kind of my present self. I'm currently living in Georgia and have been feeling a little disconnected with Nebraska and the community back there, all of you, and just the phase of my life where climate activism was kind of front and center. But all the sunflowers in the back to me just represent all the different chapters that we have throughout our lives, even though they may not be shining as bright as our present selves right now. They're still carried with us and make us who we are today. So this photo, I hope you enjoy it as I kind of walk you through the story that I'm going to tell today. But we're going to take a little flashback back to 2019, towards the end of the year, about November. I know this can seem quite a while ago, pre-pandemic, but that was my junior year of college at the University of Nebraska. At this point, I had been president of Sustain for about a year and a half, and we just had a lot of stuff going on, a lot of good things going on in terms of the climate movement in Nebraska. You know, we had the campuses, both university and high school. We had community organizations from youth-led to older generations. And, we had people coming together for statewide initiatives, citywide initiatives, campus-wide initiatives. And kind of one of the collective goals that we all shared was getting the public utilities in Nebraska to commit to decarbonization. And I believe Kat is going to touch a little bit more broadly or in some detail on that. But I'm going to kind of zoom really far in and talk about one really cool piece of that advocacy that I was part of. But so in 2019, November, at this point, in the city of Lincoln, we had been advocating for the LES, Lincoln Electric System, to make a decarbonization goal. At this point, we had been testifying, I think, for a few months at the board meetings. And it kind of was, as it does, gets to the point where the same people are going and testifying week after week, month after month, things like that. And I felt it was getting maybe losing its touch with the board, after they see you speak so many times. Maybe they kind of glaze over, I don't know. But, getting new faces in, bringing the community in, having more voices there is always more impactful. So I was kind of looking for a new fun way to bring more people in to this advocacy work to get LES to decarbonize. So switching over to the next slide here, I put up a Facebook event, and it was called 21 Testimonies for 21 Years. In 2019, in December, I was turning 21 years old, and I thought that was a really fun way to bring new people in to testify at LES. I know from experience that testifying for the first time is really scary. I know even the fifth time or the sixth time, I would write my testimony ahead of time, practice it over and over and over, and I would still get up there and be shaking and super nervous and kind of stutter on my words a little bit. So, trying new things and being a person who cares about an issue, about their community, about the environment, it can be a big step to go publicly out and kind of share that truth and advocate in front of a board of people that are staring at you that you don't know. So knowing that that was kind of a new kind of frightening experience, I thought the idea of celebrating a birthday at the same time could bring some light and hopefully bring some new people in and make it a little less scary. But it was just, this was a really great day. We ended up having 21 people testify that day, and it was just amazing to see everybody one by one going up, and everybody testifying had a unique story that they were telling related to climate change and why decarbonization is important, because we all have personal values and experiences that bring us into this work and this activism. So it was just super impactful, not only for me and everybody there, but for the board especially, to see and hear from new people. So this was just a really great event to see everybody one by one going up and speaking out like that. So I just think kind of the main thing that I want to touch on here for myself personally and for all of the young leaders that are in the room right now, just always remembering that leadership is about empowering others around you. And if you can hold that tight and close to you and reminding yourself that every day, there's nothing in the way of what you young people can accomplish. Us young people, even though I'm 23 now, if you're empowering people around you, bringing new people in, connecting with people who care about the same things as you, a lot can be accomplished. And fast forward to November of 2020, LES did end up announcing a decarbonization goal by 2040. So this was a super successful community effort to get LES to commit to something just really amazing that we were all super proud of. Let's see, moving on to the next slide here. I just wanted to kind of, share some of the photos of all the different actions and community events and strikes that we put together my time when I was in Nebraska, and just really good to look back on. And I always kind of laugh at that top left photo because it was pre-COVID and we were like wearing masks basically. But just, to all of the young people in the room that are maybe just getting into the climate advocacy community in Nebraska, it's really all about community, and that was the best thing for me. On campus for Sustain UNL and the group that we had, those are my friends still today, and it was the community that helped me get through college, but also helped us learn about each other and our leadership styles and what's meaningful to us, and to go out and feel empowered and create change. So there's nothing better than having a community that surrounds you that cares about similar things. So definitely go out and find that. It's probably the best piece of advice I can give young people getting started like this. But kind of to wrap up here on a note, something that I wanted to share kind of at the tail end of my time in Nebraska, looking back on all the things that we did, the one thing that I wish I would have come to realize the importance of quicker was this ancient and obvious idea of mutual aid and just taking care of your neighbor, taking care of your community. I think that kind of hyper local activism can be overlooked sometimes. And recently here on the Georgia coast in Florida, we had Hurricane Ian go through. And as a Nebraskan, it was my first hurricane experience. So I was kind of freaked out, and just how everybody kind of came together here to prepare me and make sure that I had water, canned food, flashlight, all these things. Like, it really hit me how, we're living through the climate crisis now. And as a, privileged in many ways person, I have a way to evacuate, but how can we ensure the people living in the front lines of climate change, getting hit by Hurricane Ian, things like this, are taken care of? How can we help each other in times of climate crisis that we're living through right now? So I guess one thing that I just want to touch base on here as I'm wrapping up the presentation is I challenge everyone who's still working on climate advocacy in Nebraska is how can we prioritize mutual aid and that hyper local activism and really take care of our neighbors and each other in that way. And I think I'm getting a little close to that 10-minute mark that I was given, but just circling back to this photo of the sunflowers, I just wanted to leave one final message that I think was something that took me too long to realize, and I just want to kind of share with all of the young people in the listening in today. Look at this photo and just think about you as that front sunflower, and everyone in the world who cares about communities, environment, future generations as all the sunflowers behind you. And just remind yourself that you're not the only one. We've got a big web of community working on these issues, and we're all in it together. So find out how you can best contribute to the climate movement in Nebraska if that's where you are today, whether that's art or leadership or organizing really unique ideas. Find out how you can contribute. And then the biggest message I can give you is don't be afraid to take rest and time for joy, because all the little sunflowers behind you, all the other people in this web are going to keep that torch moving forward in the times when you need to take rest. So take care of yourself. I was told many times you can't save the planet without taking care of yourself first. So I hope that message sticks with everyone here today. And with that, I will wrap up and just say, again, thank you for including me in this. Kat and Zac, who are also presenting, I'll have to catch the recording of what y'all have to say. But thanks for having me. Hello, if anybody wants to reach out to me, I'm sure my email can get shared around. But thanks again. I hope you all have a really great day. And hopefully we can talk soon. But see ya.
And then last but not least, we have Zac Renshaw. He is a 3L at the University of Nebraska College of Law. Zac currently serves as the Environmental Sustainability Committee Chairman for the Association of Students at the University of Nebraska, as well as serving on the Nebraska Sierra Club Executive Committee Board. He has spent the last 7 years organizing in the local Crete and Lincoln communities around the climate crisis. After being trained by Vice President Al Gore in Atlanta, Georgia, at a climate reality project, Zac was a key member of the Climate Reality Campus Corps at Doane University that helped Doane become the first school in the state to divest from fossil fuels. Zac Renshaw is the winner of the John Goodard Prize for Environmental Leadership.
Perfect. Hey everyone, I'm Zac. Thank you for that introduction, and thanks to Kat and Brittni, who are also here. 3L, the University of Nebraska, Doane graduate. I see the Doanes here. Let's go Doane. So yeah, as the introduction said, I was part of a group that was the first school, helped Doane become the first school in the state to divest from fossil fuels. Similar to what the theme has been throughout the day, there was a very, very small group of students at Doane, and we all thought, there's something that we can do locally in our community right now. And tying back to the themes from the apartheid and divesting from South African diamond companies, we thought that Doane's first step that we could take on our campus was to pull all of our money out of our endowment from fossil fuels. So Doane's endowment had about 1.6 of his endowment was invested in fossil fuels. And so what we did was we found a group of young people who were part of my group, and we came together. We wrote letters to the board. We talked to board members. We engaged with students. We had a petition drive, and we basically did everything we could to educate the students about what divestment means and what it means to be the first school in the state to make this commitment for the future of Nebraskans. You know, the thing is, too, is that while there were three of us up here today, I would say that none of the divestment stuff would have happened if not for every single person who was able to share the load with all of our students that were part of this this endeavor. Administration was supportive of this, which made it very, very, it was a safe place to organize, I should say. It wasn't as hostile as some experiences can be when you organize around the climate crisis, especially in Nebraska. But we were able to reach out to administrators, to teachers and faculty who were invested in not only the students being successful, but invested in Doan's future and what it means. The reason why we decided on investment is because if you look at statistics, there was a study done in 2017. I believe it's published in The Guardian, but there's about 100 companies right now in the world that are responsible for about 71% of all carbon emissions. And so the math just kind of makes sense, is that if these 100 companies aren't producing carbon emissions, you're going to be able to solve the climate crisis pretty effectively. As Kat mentioned, you know, it does come down to money. Unfortunately, our economic systems are set up that way where if money is to be made, then exploitation will occur. Same thing with fossil fuels. There's money to be made in that industry still today. That won't be the case in the future, as we currently see oil prices skyrocketing, and we currently see energy crises across the world. Money's not going to be able to be made in this anymore, and so having to sell the idea of, you know, we're not talking about children's futures, we're talking about saving money in the long run, is a hard thing to do and a hard thing to swallow. But for some leaders at Doan, that was the message we had to convey to them, is that you're going to lose money, but you talk about climate change, then they didn't want to listen to us. So, I don't know, I mean, overall, I would say the experience of working with students and working with administration on this was a very rewarding experience. Because it's important. It was rewarding because I had to sit down and you're vulnerable with administrators, with your friends, and you say, you know, we're worried, we're anxious, we want to change something, we want to do something. And being able to have that vulnerability with fellow students towards a common goal makes it so much more sweeter at the end of the day. I remember when we got the announcement from the Board of Trustees, what was it? It was in May. And I'm sitting in the library, and we just come from the board meeting, and we just had gotten harassed by questions about, like, why climate change is important to Doan, why should they as the board want to invest in, you know, divest from fossil fuels. And we're sitting there talking about it, and we're just like, oh my gosh, that did not go as well as we thought it was going to go. And we get the email from the board secretary saying Doan has made this commitment to divest their entire 1.6 of its endowment from fossil fuels. It's rewarding, and it's rewarding to share those experiences with folks who are dedicated, and you share those moments of vulnerability and pain and anxiety that makes this stuff all the more better. So with that, I think I will turn it over to, questions. Okay.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? Do you have any statistics on the effects of particularly Doan divesting?
I don't have any statistics specifically on what that does for carbon emissions. What I can tell you is that, so Doan had 2 contracts in fossil fuels. One was going to expire within a year, that they weren't going to renew that contract. Another one, they were contractually obligated to carry that out for that came out in 2019. So like 10 years, and they were going to let that one also expire. But they also made the commitment not to invest in new ones. But I don't know what statistics Doane would have about carbon emissions totally.
Hi, Zach. We met a few times last year. I'm from Wesleyan, and we were working on trying to get Wesleyan to divest from the fossil fuel industry. And our environment wasn't as friendly as yours was, it seems like. Our board of governors basically said that they're doing enough and that they were going to release a statement about their investments, but then they didn't, and they're not responding to any of our emails. Being a private school, do you have any advice for ways we could go forward? Because I am open to advice.
I would say with any sort of environmental goal that students have, you've got to be noisy and you've got to be annoying, and that's just kind of the reality of it. Brittni mentioned the testimony at LES, and yeah, you're there every week, and I mean, Ken can probably speak about like every time he went up to speak, the LES board would kind of just sigh because Ken was there. But that's the thing, you gotta let your voice heard, and that's okay, because being annoying is important. Because advocating for yourself and advocating for a goal means that you believe in that, and you've got to let them know that still is a thing. Because it's easy for board members to hear someone talk one time, or board of governors, for example, hear someone talk one time, and then they're like, this person's not back in. Then it's out of their radar, out of sight, out of mind, sort of thing. So being annoying really helps, and also having a lot of people being annoying is really good, because one email from one person, that's an easy delete. But if you get 50 emails, 100 emails from a bunch of different people all saying, hey, I attend your school, or I am your constituent, or I buy electricity from you, that changes the narrative, because it's harder to ignore 50 people versus one person. And Kat can probably speak more about NPPD and listening to their constituents too.
It's also like a big thing that's really important. Something that I've learned while I'm in Europe is the importance of being able to speak other people's languages, whether it's German, Italian, or even if I'm meeting like another person, like I was at a conference, finance. Like each profession has their language, and each person feels best when they're able to speak, when they're speaking with someone who also speaks their language. And so and it's important because it also tends to line up with their values as well. And so when dealing with a board, you have to be like, figure out each of those people and pinpoint what they care about, and then hit the bullseye. Because it's impactful to have a lot of people doing it, but it's also impactful for having a couple people doing it in a way that really impacts them and like makes them think and puts it in a way where they have to care about it. And so like with divestment, a lot of what that looks like is translating it into money, and why. And it's like the reason why BlackRock and why so many universities across the US and across the world are doing it, and like learning the arguments from those people, and then meeting one-on-one with these board members and pretty much just giving them a sales pitch about like what's happening and doing it in their values, not your own, which is so difficult and can be incredibly infuriating. But that's a lot of what we did with NPPD. I didn't use the words climate change because they didn't want to hear it. So cool, I'll run the cost benefit analysis and return on investment, which is what they want to do here, and the impact and reliability that will have for their consumers. All the business talk that like is really disgusting and makes you want to throw up, but that's what they want to hear, so that's what we have to say.
Well, I just wanted to give a little tribute to the three youth panelists, because I worked with all of you, and I really, you really made a big difference. And I was the guy who was showing up at LES meetings for month after month, and they were ignoring me. And then when the young people, when the 21 young people showed up, all of a sudden they had a different tune. And so I guess I just want to really say that you can make a difference. And I also want to give a little tribute to something that Zac did. We were part of the Mayor's Environmental Task Force, and I had a presentation to make about why the city of Lincoln should go to 100% renewable energy, only I didn't have it ready to go. So I sent an email to Zac, like at, I don't know, it was like 9 o'clock at night or whatever, saying, hey, could you help me with it, make this PowerPoint look like I know what I'm talking about? And he did it before midnight that night. So anyway, and I presented it at the Mayor's Environmental Task Force the next day. But those kinds of things sometimes take advantage of the cross-generational connections as well. I mean, there's some things where I may not have the ability to do things, to use the kinds of digital resources that you folks can use, but I may know some people, or I may have some experience. So make use of your relationships with older people as well, and that's the way that will really be helpful. So anyway, once again, I really appreciate all the things that Kat did, the fact that she showed up. The other thing I want to say is, don't expect to make it happen the first time out. You got to keep showing up, and I know Kat showed up time after time, month after month, and I know Zac went to some of those meetings too, and Brittni went to numerous meetings. So the fact that folks kept showing up made a big difference. So anyway, I just wanted to give a little tribute to all the work that all three of you have done.
I will say to Ken's point too, it's good to ask for help. None of us here have the solution, like know everything about anything. I know very little about anything, science-wise when it comes to climate change. I can talk policy and I can talk, economic systems, but the science stuff is beyond me, but that's okay. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay not knowing everything. And all that means is you just got to go out and find people who understand that stuff, and you can build a coalition. And asking for help is important in any aspect of organizing, because if you think you can organize and change anything by yourself, you're crazy, respectfully.
This is Ken Haar. Why should those of us older people who have lived a long time and have all this experience listen to someone like you who's so young and haven't lived that long? What would you say to us older generation?
Zac, do you want to take that one, or do you want me to start?
I think he asked you first.
Oh, you asked me. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
That's a really good question.
I can pop in with a sarcastic answer, but I think Ken's looking for something a little more.
Yeah, could you guys start it first, Zac? Because I need some more time to think about it. Because I haven't really thought about it in a long time, anyways.
I mean, oh man, I'm trying to make this sound nice. The thing is, like, what I've learned is that when people say, what do I know compared to you? It's always good. You can answer that question with the question saying, well, look where we're at. Let's just look at like statistics of how things are. We can look at how hot the Earth has gotten in the last 10 years. We can look at rampant climate refugees. We can look at increasing intensive hurricanes. I think you can just ask the question. Let's look at everything that we've seen so far and all the decisions that have been made up until this point, and then have them defend their record and say, "Are you okay with that?" And if they say yes, they have to live with that. If they're okay with mass migrations, or okay with droughts and decreasing crop yields, if they want to stand by that, then let them stand by it, because the science is on your side.
Yeah, what comes to my mind is, like, just because we're younger doesn't mean we're dumber. Just because we're younger doesn't make us less aware. we've grown up learning about this. We see it on all of our social media, and especially if the algorithm says we see it every day and wants us to see it every day. So our generation has really grown up with this stuff and has internalized a lot of it. And we've been able to understand the magnitude of the issue. And it's not just young people that are speaking out about it. It's not just, the people with attitude that are saying something. It's everybody saying stuff about it. We just have the energy. We don't have kids, so we speak up more about it. And the magnitude of the issue is absolutely huge, and it's going to impact us. So it's also like a sense of respect as well for valuing the fact that we're younger, but we also deserve some respect. And also innovation. Young people have always been the leaders of a lot of movements and are the reason a lot of things have changed. Yeah, that's my response.
Question.
I'm sorry, this isn't a question, this is just a response. What came to my mind is I think there's a lot of research in the power in diversity, so not just from a cultural sense, but also a socioeconomic sense, and then in this term, in age sense. So I can give a different perspective than you can give a different perspective on climate change because we have different backgrounds and we see different things. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, perfect. And with that, I want to thank Zac, Kat, and Brittni for speaking today and for just all the great work you have done for our state.